You're listening to Gen XP. Let's play some games.
Previously on the Shattered World of Voar. The Song of Iron proved to be a dangerous place as blood was shed in the rough and tumble tavern known as the Pit. Captain Fairfax entrusted Avo with an unknown package before taking Quartermaster Hillman and leaving the two adventurers to find their own way back to the lonely horizon. A chase ensued, and by the time they made it back to the ship, poor Theric had both knife and arrow wounds. The exit from the dock was made even more urgent by firebombers attacking and one of the party going unconscious from an axe to the gut. We rejoin Theric and Avo along with the crew of the Lonely Horizon as they flee the Song of Iron while being pursued by giant bats with pirate riders. Welcome back to the Shattered World of Voar.
As the Lonely Horizon barrels away, you can hear this shrieking of bat riders, their wings beating as fast as your eyes can even detect. Theric, you've climbed to your feet at this point, beaten and bloody, but hanging on to life thanks to the aid of some magical soup provided by the cook of the ship.
As I climb to my feet, that's spicy. What was in it?
Cilantro has, once you are conscious and starting to climb to your feet, she has tossed the bowl over the side and ran back and jumped down into the hatch. And you can hear cannons starting to be rolled around. You can hear large pieces of equipment banging around underneath the deck as she's preparing for whatever's about to come. You see Captain Fairfax at the helm of the ship trying to give as much speed as possible. But this ship is not just held aloft by magic, or at least it's not only held aloft by magic. There are also the hot air balloon, there are sails, there's rigging that in a way that is as optimal as possible. Captain Fairfax is at the helm. You see Quartermaster Hillman has climbed the main mast and is up in the crow's nest, loading her crossbow, looking back over the back of the ship as Webb and Webb and Renford are grabbing lines, starting to secure things. You see First Mate Devereux loading his blunderbuss and climbing the back deck towards where the captain stands. You've been in a battle on the ship before, and you realize that an attack from behind is only going to target the captain's deck. So where you're standing right now is relative safety, but there is much to do. You can either work as a defender of the ship, or you've had some training now, you've been on the ship for about a week. You can start working trying to help the captain coax as much speed out of the ship as you possibly can manage. The captain's standing up there, he's yelling orders. You hear things like, "Haul taut, sheet home, hoist away!" And the rigging, the lines are spinning, you see sails moving. Would the two of you like to contribute to the defense of this ship? Do you want to work as crew members or defenders?
My first instinct would be to see if I could spot any kind of ranged weapon that I would be able to use.
So you've been on the ship for a week. You know that on the back deck, to each side of Captain Devereux, they're usually kind of wrapped up in sailcloth, but they've been freed now for this particular event. You know that there are two mounted ballista that fire spear-length bolts that would be used for this sort of encounter. Devereux is First Mate Devereux is up there with his blunderbuss, but no one is manning those particular ballista at the moment.
We'll jump on that.
Okay, so Avo, you go rushing up the steps to the captain's deck. Theric, how do you want to help around? Oh, also, we can't forget that the ship is on fire on one side as you were hit by a Molotov cocktail as you were trying to leave. There is an active fire that, given time, will take you out of the air. You see Lonnie and Nani with buckets of water and sand desperately trying to throw over the side of the ship, trying to put the fire out as much as possible. They are strapped in with harnesses and have ropes that go back to them, and they're starting to lower themselves over the side, but that is an active event as well. So we've got a fire, we've got bat riders behind us, and we've got the need for more speed on the ship. Theric, how do you want to contribute to the ship's overall defense?
I watch Avo run when I look at the halflings, and I just kind of shake my head, and I grab a rope. I start running towards the halfling and pat her on my waist, and then jump over the side, grabbing a bucket as I go.
Okay, a rope that is attached to something.
Yes.
Okay, so you grab a rope, quickly tie it around your waist, and jump over the side with a bucket of water or sand. They've got a number of them up. There's large barrels that are secured on the deck that they're pulling from. The Molotov cocktail, when it hit, it did light a good portion of the side of the ship on fire. But all right, so what we'll do is we'll start not necessarily an initiative count. This isn't going to be a standard battle. Just to start off, Avo, you grab one of the ballistas. You crank back the large wheel, load one of the crossbow bolts, which is, as I said, it's not really a normal crossbow. This is going to launch effectively a 6-foot-long spear. And you take aim. Now you see there are a total of 5 bat riders. They're not necessarily spread out. There's 3 that you would say are directly behind that are off to the side slightly, but they're all trying to gain on you. And they're about 60 feet back right now. But they seem to be keeping pace, if not slightly gaining on the ship at the moment. You go ahead and take a shot.
I'm aiming at most mass. If there
So
are
the
a
bats are
couple of
larger than
together.
the people.
Okay. So the bat.
Okay. Okay. And this is going to be a single shot. When you say the most mass, this is going to be a single shot. There's no way to double it up.
I'm just, if I get general area is the hope, I
So
guess.
you crank the thing around, tip of the spear wobbles for a second, and then with a loud twang, the arrow, or the bow string loosens.
And I slap that bat hard because I just critically hit him.
Critically hit. Okay, so you hear like the wind whistle as the spear flies through the air, fully. I can't even say impale. It passes through the bat. It never stops. You see just a spray of blood behind it, and the bat immediately crumples and starts to fall out of the air. When it does, its rider, 60 feet back, leaps off the bat, and you see he's got something on one arm, like a bracer, and he pushes it out towards the ship, and you see a grappling hook launch from his arm, and the cord unwinds in a corkscrew fashion as it comes towards the ship. He's very far away for this, so I'm going to see if he manages to make the hit. He does not. He's too far. You watch as the grappling hook kind of unwinds as it sails towards the ship, the back of the ship, but then falls short, and you watch this man start to fall into the drift along with a dead bat. You hear his scream in the distance, but it's lost in the rush of wind. Cutting back to Theric, as you've leapt off the side with a bucket of water.
I leap over the side, and then I spread my wings to help stabilize me in the air.
Okay. So immediately your wings thrum. You are thankfully
Going.
attached to the ship, because you are not quite as fast as the ship.
I know.
But you have a more stable footing. When I say footing, I'm air quotes because you're hovering and using that
I'm
to
being
stabilize
dragged.
yourself. Right.
And I realize that. So I take the bucket that I have, throw it on the fire, and then pull myself as fast as I can back up, using myself against the wind, buffeting against me. And I'm just going to pull myself hand over hand, and when I get to the rail, reach out for another bucket from the halfling, and then let go of the rope, and
Okay,
rinse
so
and repeat.
the fire is trying to spread, and there's certainly, it's not a dire thing right now, but it left unattended, this will become a death threat for you. But I need you to make a roll to see how well you can do this. Now, I'm going to give you the choice, because with what you're doing, it's going to either be athletics or sleight of hand, because it's a dexterous movement or a brute force movement. Okay, because you're stabilizing yourself, I'm gonna lower the DC. So, which are you using?
Sleight of hand.
Okay, go ahead and give me a roll to see how effective you are at.
Well, he had a crit,
Uh-huh.
I had a phone.
You have a nat 1, okay.
Yes.
So you're sticking with the nat 1. Just as a reminder, you both have
And then I'll use my
Inspiration.
fate die,
Inspiration.
my inspiration, to re-roll that.
okay,
Oh, I mean, that's a 12.
12. 12 total? Okay. So because the wings, I actually lowered the DC from a 15 to a 12 because you're stabilizing yourself. So you are able to make some progress on dousing parts of the fire. You then hand over hand pull yourself back up as the wind just rocks you back and forth to the edge of the railing. Nani, wide-eyed, watching you and looking
Feed
at the
me
rings.
buckets!
But as soon as you get there, they're both shoving a bucket into your hand. The ship itself. I want to see how well the ship is doing as well as its other defenders, because both Avo as well as Quartermaster Hillman are actively trying to defend the ship. So the ship itself manages to continue to sail forward. You can feel it picking up speed, wind whooshing past. You see occasionally there are some birds, but they tend to scatter away from the ship as it's moving. And far in the distance, I think that Theric, you can, because you're hanging off the side of the ship, I think that you can see on the far side of the island the two warships starting to rise above the level of the buildings. They're slow, ponderous movement in the air, so you don't think that they're going to be an immediate threat unless something slows you down. You do hear the twang of a crossbow bolt from up above, as well as the thunderous report of a black powder musket on the back deck. And one of the, not the bat, but the rider falls off of another bat. So that's one bat gone, 2 riders gone. There's only a total of 5, so you've still got 3 riders to contend with. The riderless maintains its course and seems to be staying with the pack of its fellows. And then we roll back up to the top of what I'm calling the round of order. So Avo, load the.
So
the
how long
ballista.
does it take me to crank this thing back up?
They're designed to be used in bat, so they can be fired every round, once per round. Okay, go ahead. And are you aiming at another bat or another rider, or what are you aiming for?
Once again, going for a bat.
Okay.
Not the riderless bat,
Okay.
but different.
Okay.
12.
12. As with that, the spear whistles out and passes as the bat kind of does almost like a quick roll in the air to avoid the attack. So the spear whistles away in open air, falling into the drift below and down towards the roiling clouds far below. As Theric, hanging over the side of the ship, you're no novice to flying.
But I love the Tempest and I'm fascinated by it.
It is. I think it does draw your eye quite a bit. I wonder.
Distracted.
Would Theric feel fear for that, or would it be fascination?
Fascination is, while I'm certain that going into the Tempest would be death, Theric wants to know how the Tempest came about, how this planet or world went through what it went through, and instead of just falling apart, it kind of stayed together with the Tempest.
We're now rolling to you in this order of operations that you were staring down as you had the bucket in your hand and you had to burst back into speed. So you shake yourself, drop back down towards the active fire, and are going to use the bucket again.
Throw the bucket again, and then I say, as I'm throwing the bucket, I look up and I'll yell, "Ship's coming out of the mist!" And then
Go ahead and give me another check.
that one is a 16.
16.
So that one I easily.
Okay. So with that, Theric splashes another. This time it's a bucket of sand handed to you by Nani, which does do a lot to just kind of spread some of the, or to knock some of the fire
Disperse
down,
some of it.
yeah, to disperse it so it's not actively on fire. And really, you notice that when they were using the buckets, they're not super careful about bringing the buckets back. They've got lots of buckets. It's more important that there's speed involved. But you dash the sand against the side of the ship. You see some of the fire kind of sizzle and pop as it is dying, and then you begin hauling yourself back up.
As I start to haul I throw the bucket.
Okay. Again, the crossbow twangs from up above. You see the captain yelling, commands being shouted. You hear, "Sheet home to lee! Let go clew lines!" And some of the sails begin to swing back and forth. You see the large balloon that holds the ship, holds part of the ship aloft, angles down in the front, and the ship begins to tilt and move forward at an even faster pace. It looks like was the captain working together, we're able to coax a bit more speed out of it than normal this time. At the bottom of that, I'm also... The first round, nothing was able to be gained by the Bat Riders. This round, you actually see one of these got a riding crop. He begins whipping it furiously. The bat bursts into faster speed and begins flying faster and faster, catching up to the ship. So there are still 3 riders and 4 bats. No deaths from the pursuers this round. One of the riders with the bat is closing the distance to the ship next round. Rolling back to Avo.
I'm cranking up and gonna take aim on the closing.
On the one that's closing?
Bat.
Okay. It looks like he's flying not necessarily just fast, but also erratically. So he will be slightly more difficult to hit. And you can see that tracking, trying to
All right,
beat
no,
on him.
I'll switch off. I'll aim at one of the ones that's lagging.
Okay.
I'll rely on close quarters combat if that guy gets bored.
Okay.
It's that's gonna sail off into the
What'd you get?
into the nothing. 7.
7, yeah. Again, there's that loud twang as the spear launches, and then just off into the distance.
And after that, if it looks like that guy is going to be approaching before I can reload again, I'm just gonna let this fall and draw a weapon.
Okay. So, and that's not a problem. So as you watch the spear drop into the distance, you let loose the mounted ballista. It kind of falls limp, and then your rapier comes sliding out. You do, from a tactical perspective, recognize that the most sensitive part of the ship is the captain's deck. And you know now, having the two of you have spent a little bit of time talking to the captain in private, he's the only one that's attuned to this ship. So if something was to happen to him, the ship, you don't know what would happen.
The mounted weapons, how they're not up on that deck is what I thought.
They are. They're on the back of that deck on 2 posts on either side. He's at the front of the back deck. So there's a high deck in the back, there's a high deck in the front, and a low deck in the middle. He's on the back of this, and they're coming along towards the back. So the one that's speeding along is closest to the captain more than anything else.
But it's coming right to the deck where I'm
True.
at.
You're closer to it, technically.
Okay.
Theric, are you maintaining your firefighting duties?
Yes.
Okay. You grab another bucket, jump over the side, your wings buzz against the beating of the wind. Go ahead and give me another check.
25.
25. You beat it by 13. I'm going to cover in 3 dots. So that bucket of water, you managed to, you jump down and you managed to hit a large portion that looks like part of the bottle was wedged in the side of the ship and still is holding some of the alcohol. You managed to not only douse part of that, but kick that bottle away from the edge of the ship. It tumbles down in a little fiery trail below you, and you did a lot of work towards putting the fire out. The ship's taken some damage and it's still on fire, but you've done a huge amount of work. And with Lonnie and Nani feeding you, it's saving time to have to climb back up and reload. Let's see how the ship fares this turn. Okay. The riderless bat is taken out with a crossbow bolt. The explosion of the blunderbuss, you hear the shot. When you see another bat with a rider, not the one that's closing, take a hit and wobble in air but maintain flight. It doesn't go down. Doesn't do quite as much damage as the ship ballista. The ship itself is still speeding along. Beginning of this chase, I had said that the bats were about 60 feet behind you. The ship is making distance. It's about now 80 feet away from the back bats. It is gaining a little bit of ground every round. At the end of that round, the one that had been sprinting forward, you see the bat, Avo, at the back of the ship, you see the bat like frothing at the mouth from the exertion. But as it kind of arcs up at the last moment, and you watch the rider jump off the bat and come sailing down towards the deck of the captain's deck. The bat itself looks like it's going to latch onto the balloon on top of the ship. So with a loud thump, that man lands on the back of the deck, and I'm going to we're going to roll a quick initiative, just with Avo and this guy, and Devereaux, because he's up there as well.
17.
Okay, so you're going to go first. Okay, so that man lands with a loud thump. It's a hobgoblin. Again, you've noticed that a large portion of the people that were militant or aggressive on the Song of Iron were of a hobgoblin clan that all seem to have these red sashes or red bandanas or red markings somewhere on them. He lands with a loud thump. You can see that he does have that gauntlet, much like the one that fell, with the little spear on the side, a little bolt of cable attached to it. But as he lands, or as he's sailing down, you watch as he pulls a short sword from his belt and lands with that in hand. Immediately, he clocks you and Devereaux, who Devereaux only has the blunderbuss in hand. He clocks the two of you, but he immediately looks towards the captain. You can tell with lunging towards him. It's your go.
He's right on the edge of the ship?
He is within 5 feet of the edge of the ship, yes.
I'm charging full bore, lowering a shoulder into him.
Awesome. So you run forward and try to slam him. Go ahead and give me a opposed athletics check. Your shoulder catches him right below the collarbone. He is incredibly sturdy. He's a solid bit of muscle that immediately just puts his forearm against your chin and just shoves you back. Where Devereaux goes between you and this one. He steps forward and with the butt of his blunderbuss does crack the hobgoblin across the back, or across the chin, and you watch a few teeth kind of splatter out and sail off into the wind. Hobgoblin's still standing, though looks badly injured. It goes to Theric. You're on the side of the ship. You can see a battle taking place as you climb up to the rear. Would you maintain what you're doing, or would you divert from your current course to engage in that battle?
I'm not. I have faith in Avo, and Avo can handle himself.
Okay.
So if he still needs help when I get done with the fire, you said it's almost under control. I mean,
it's close. You've done most of the work, but it's still on fire.
But if I let it go now, there's a chance that it could spread again. So I'm going to put the fire out before I go in.
Correct.
So I just grab the bucket. And
we grab the bucket. You clock the fight, but you're trusting in your friend. You jump back over the side. Again, the wind kind of whips by, and you're going to try to do a little bit more work towards putting the fire out.
25. 26.
There is only the smallest of embers remaining. It is still an active threat, but it looks like it, for the most part, is done. You think within one more trip, and there's no way you shouldn't be able to finish this. As you watch this dripping off the side, much more than fire licking along the edges of the ship. The ship and the riders. The captain is aware that there's somebody behind him. He's keeping an eye out, but he's yelling to Ranford and Webb. He says, "Haul taut! Haul taut!" And with that, the ship does lurch forward. It picks up a little bit more speed. And at this point, I think Theric hanging over the side as much as you are. Abo, you can feel the wind whistle by, but Theric over the side, it's even more noticeable. It's going now easily 3 to 4 times what you could fly if you were really trying to keep up. Just the roar of wind in your... you hear the crossbow twang of Hillman firing at the riders behind. She does bring down... she does shoot the rider that has already been shot. He looks like he slumps forward in his saddle, but doesn't fall off. Although you do see one of them get hit, but you can't really focus too much on what's happening with them.
I'm more focused on the brick wall I ran into.
Yeah, out of the corner of your eye, you do see another bat start to sprint. So you know that next round there will be reinforcements if this man is still standing on the deck. That hobgoblin now, between you and First Mate Devereaux, can't lunge towards the captain. He's surrounded for the most part. So instead, he's going to take a short sword chop. I think you're closer. Devereaux stepped in and cracked him, but you running into him put you in a closer position. And with the short sword being a dueling weapon, he does lunge towards you and tries to slash across your midsection. But definitely you dodge aside. The wind whistles as his blade passes past you. You remember many sparring sessions back at the temple. This was not a hard thing for you to dodge away from. And we roll back to you, Avo.
Right. I'll pull my dagger as well then. I already had my rapier out.
Okay. Dagger comes out.
And I'll try to keep the hobgoblin between...
Okay, so you're going to use some footwork to angle around.
Yes, so I can get some flanking action and then...
Sure, so you angle around so that Devereaux is behind him for the most part. Okay.
And then I'm going to attack with both weapons.
Okay.
Do rapier first.
Okay.
17?
17 will hit. What sort of an attack would that have been with the rapier?
Stab, aiming for the chest.
Okay, so you lunge forward, blade, the tip of the rapier digs into his chest. Go ahead and give me damage.
For 6 points.
6
I'm
points.
sorry, 9 points.
9 points. Blade digs in, the tip pierces through the leather armor that he's wearing, pierces through the rib cage, and you can feel it hit something soft inside. And as you pull it out, the light fades from his eyes, and he drifts backwards and is gone. Falls off the edge of the ship, and you just watch his body tumble away. Devereaux nods to you, turns, and fires towards the back of the ship. Cutting back to Theric, you grab that last bucket, you look down and you see one bit of fire still stubbornly clinging to the edge of the ship. You dive back over and try to extinguish it.
5.
Yeah. And with that, the last of the
I
fire...
need some of those wolves.
The last of the fire has been extinguished on the side of the ship. It trails still smoke and drips water and sand, but even the smoke itself is starting to dissipate at the speed the ship is moving. You haul yourself hand over hand back up the rope using your wings to stabilize yourself, and Lonnie and Nani pull you back on as you get near the edge, kind of clapping you on the back. As you get on the ship, you do hear Ranford and Webb as they're winding up some of the rigging. They say, good work, if you've got time, grab that line there. And then we cut to what the ship is doing. Alright, let's see, ship, Bat Riders. Okay. There's only 2 riders left that are conscious, and 3 bats total. There's 1 bat that's still clinging to the balloon at the top of the ship. And as it kind of starts to turn itself around to look straight down, you watch as it just kind of crab walks upside down, kind of screeches down at the captain's deck as its rider falls away. You hear the explosion of the blunderbuss, and I think, Avo, that draws your eyes for a second away from the threat above you just to see if First Mate Devereaux hits anything. What really catches your eye is the last rider that hasn't been hit yet has raised what looks like a heavy crossbow himself and fires, and you watch it's a strange looking bolt. It's heavier than it should be at the front end. It's bigger than it should be, and it doesn't arc straight. It kind of has to take a high trajectory. It must be heavier, but it takes a high trajectory, arcs in, and hits the mast of the ship, and a burst of fire as the central mast is lit aflame. The ship is now 90 feet in front of the remaining rider, the one with the crossbow. There's 1 bat on the ship deck, and one rider in the back still, and a new fire to deal with.
How far away is that mast?
The central mast is from you, about 20 feet.
Okay. And there was some kind of accelerant in the... I mean, it lit up.
It caused an
blaze.
explosion.
Okay.
It caused when it hit it. There was a small explosion, and it lit part of the mast on fire. It wasn't just all fire.
Eric shakes his head. Just got the fire out.
And you do see as well in the distance now, at the speed that the Lost Horizon is traveling, they're far in the distance, barely visible through the mist, but you can see the warships of the Song of Iron starting to follow. They have no chance of catching up unless the ship slows down.
Okay.
And the remaining rider and bat.
So the other one that was gaining is no longer gaining?
He got shot.
It's just the one that...
Just the one with the crossbow.
Okay. And is he looked to be...
It looks like he's reloading it. You also have the bat that's right above you, right above the captain's deck. It's clinging to the balloon that was starting to crawl down.
I would like to run back to the ballista.
Okay, so you run over to the ballista, crank it into loading position.
And I want to take aim on the crossbow rider.
Okay, yep, go ahead and give me a shot. On the rider.
I'm going for the rider.
Okay.
22.
22, absolutely hits. It's a soft target, so 2d10 times 2.
16.
16. The 2d10 times 2 was 16?
2D. I rolled 8.
Okay. So you hit 16 points of damage. Actually, it's still enough. As that spear slams into his midsection, and he just tumbles backwards into the mist. The bat itself kind of erratically flaps around, unused to the sudden weight change, but it is, being the only bat back there, starts to just fly off. It doesn't look like it's still following the ship, leaving just the bat that is clinging to the ship as well as the fire as the immediate threats right now. Theric, as you see this fire spring into existence, you also see the claws as you look up towards the captain's deck. You see the claws of the bat that's on the balloon start to come into visibility from where you are as it's climbing down. You know that there's a few threats. Which would you like to focus on?
Eric is going to launch a firebolt at the bat. So as the bat starts to come down, I just kind of make a motion with my hand and then hurl a small ball of fire towards it.
Nice. Okay, a little ball of fire appears.
Hoping I don't hit the balloon and
Right.
cause more damage to the ship. 9.
A 9, so that it whistles off into the distance. You hear the burning as it passes. Avo, you just a ball of fire passes, small ball of fire, passes and shoots off into the distance, and the bat kind of shrieks a little bit as it looks down towards where that attack came from. It then launches itself down onto the captain's deck. I'm going to see how the crew, Lonnie and Nani, deal with the fire for a moment. Okay. Looks like they are scrambling. Lonnie and Nani, Theric, you watch as they are still tied to the ship, but they start scrambling up the mast, and you see one scrambles up, and the other one throws a bucket, and as the one scrambles up, just reaches out a hand and grabs it, almost like they're very in tune with each other's movements. But they manage to do a little bit of progress on putting the fire out, not a lot, but a little. And you see the ship itself now still surging forward. Fully has lost the warships. They are gone in the distance. There's nothing chasing. It's just the fire and the remaining bat. But that bat does launch itself down onto the back deck and will make an attack. Let's see here. There are 3 of you on the back deck, and it is an animal. The bat launches down to the deck of the ship with a loud crunch as you hear the wood kind of creak underneath its weight. Fanged mouth bites first mate Devereaux on the shoulder. You watch as its long bottom fangs fully pierce into his torso. You hear him scream out in pain, and he grunts, and it doesn't let go. It just has latched on and is holding him by the shoulder. back to... It's going to be back to Avo.
Pull my rapier once again.
Here comes out, and you take a long lunge towards the bat. Okay, go ahead and give me an attack roll.
Is this standard attack? Roll?
This is a standard attack. Devereaux is in no position to provide flanking at this point.
Okey-doke. 7. Miss.
7. Okay. The bat is moving in an erratic fashion, kind of whipping Devereaux back and forth. One of its wings pops up and just hits your blade aside. You bounce off of it. Theric.
So Theric looks around, and I can't see the bat, but how far is it to the deck?
Just to correct, you can see the bat. It's a large creature standing on the back deck. You're not. It's the back deck is not radically higher, so you can see a large creature.
How far away?
20 feet.
Still only 20. Okay. So what Theric's gonna do is, and he thinks for a second, and you see more kind of like a light bulb effect, and he starts running towards the bat, and as he does, he's gonna use his ability to cast ritual spells in normal action and cast Speak with Animals.
Okay.
And as he gets up there, he's gonna go, "Stop, bat! Stop, friend!"
Okay. Since you can talk to it, it is going to be, because of its current condition and the fact that it's fighting, it's going to be like a DC 16. What'd you get?
17.
17. So, Avo, you understand what Theric's saying, because he's just talking like he normally would talk, but because of the magic, the bat also does. You yell, "Stop, bat! Stop, bat!" and the bat immediately releases Devereaux and kind of scrambles back on all fours, and like its head cocks to the side, and you hear a little, like a low, confused shriek come out of it, which Theric, you understand is,
We need food.
Okay, what do you want? I'll get you some food.
and you can see the blood just dripping off of this thing's mouth.
As he looks for her, no, you can't have him. But hold on a second. We need steaks.
As Theric yells, "We need steaks," it's getting away from us. It's starting to get into the rigging, and it looks like they did not do well on that particular firefighting check. So the captain is going to maintain. He doesn't have to try to gain distance at this point. Devereaux collapses. He's not dead, but he's severely injured. He collapses on the deck. The bat is held off for this round. It's not doing anything, but we roll back to Avo. You see the bat has backed off. You don't understand what it wants, but it's not being aggressive right now. And you hear Lonnie and Nani yell about the fire.
Are there more buckets on deck?
There are, and barrels of water and sand.
I am going to run in that direction, collect a bucket, and disapparate into mist up the mast and reform and try to put out some fire from...
Awesome. So you rush down the stairs, grab a bucket, and then use Misty Step
Yes.
to appear in the rigging.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. It's either an athletics or a sleight of hand check for you.
We're going with athletics. 9.
A 9? Okay.
Yeah.
The speed that the ship is going scatters the water before it really can do much as you start to throw it. It's the wind more than your ability. But the fire is still spreading slightly. It's causing some damage to the rigging. Rolling back to Theric. With a wounded Devereaux, and the captain, as he's guiding the ship, looks down at you and he goes, "Well done, Master Theric. If you can make sure it doesn't do to me what it did to our friend Devereaux."
Okay. So I want to try and use message.
Okay.
And message reads: you point your finger to a creature within a range and whisper a message to target. And only target hears the message and reply in a whisper that only you can hear. You can cast a spell through solid objects if you are familiar with the target and know it's beyond the barrier.
Oh yeah. What's the range on it?
120 feet.
You can easily, and you're familiar with cilantro.
So I point. So my first action is to point at cilantro and say, "I need raw meat, as much as you can bring me."
Okay.
And then I look at that and I go, "We're bringing you food. Can you just wait a minute, friend?"
I'll let you do another persuasion roll with advantage because you're promising him what he's asking for.
8.
Ooh. So with an 8, his head kind of cranks a little bit. He looks around. He looks down at Devereaux, and you hear him mutter,
I already have food.
and he starts to lunge towards Devereaux again. Devereaux, not dead, as I said, he's severely wounded, does manage to jam his rifle into the thing's mouth and is holding it off of him. And you can hear the struggle now. You're up in the rigging. You can
I'm
hear,
up in the rigging. I think I'm a little too far away and preoccupied to help out with that particular thing.
I think a bucket of sand comes whistling up. If you want to try to catch it.
That was more.
Yeah,
I was
Lonnie
gonna
and
see
Nani
if I
working
could
together
assist
throw
them.
a bucket of sand to you. Then are going to try to dash the fire.
Yes.
Another athletics check.
14.
14 is enough. You put the last of the fire out in the rigging as sand and water just drip down everywhere. Lonnie and Nani were directly underneath you for both of the buckets that you used, and they're just covered in a combination of sand and water, just like their faces are all messed up, their hairs are all screwed up. But they're smiling wide, looking up at you as the last of the fire dies away and just smoke trails into the distance. Theric.
Do I see food coming?
You did it on your turn, and Cilantro comes bounding out. You asked for raw meat. The best she could do is what looks like a 8-foot-long string of sausages that are wrapped around her, and she's just running up the stairs with them.
And as she's running up, I say, "Friend, bat, bat."
Okay,
And
you're going to try to redirect.
I point.
Okay, so it's going to be...
But then I change my mind and I run over to Cilantro and grab the sausages.
Okay.
And then...
So you're trying to get the bat to stop and pay attention to your
Yes.
sauce. Okay, so this is still going to be a disadvantage because of its active combat. It's DC 16, but you can go ahead and roll. Actually, because you're holding food, still disadvantage, I'm going to lower it to 14. What'd you get?
15.
15. So the bat pushing down on Devereaux's rifle, you actually hear the rifle, a small, pinging noise, almost like it's starting to bend or crack. It finally opens its mouth, looks over to you, and then just climbs off of him. Like one of its feet actually steps on his chest, and you hear him just like, ugh, and he just steps off of Devereaux, and then sits down next to you, and immediately just with its face and one of its claws grabs the long rope of sausage and just begins eating it. And with that, you have ended the threats to the Lonely Horizon as you're sailing along. The bat seems to fully calm. It's only sitting near you, Theric. It's sitting on the edge of the ship near you, up on the captain's
So
deck.
I can only speak with it for 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
That's the duration of the spell.
So yeah, it's just munching along, and you hear it occasionally.
I say, I'm Theric.
Okay. It says,
I am Bat.
Bat, I say, you mind? We'll get you somewhere where we'll get that saddle off you and get you somewhere safe. But you gotta promise me not to attack anybody.
its head kind of cocks back and forth, and it says,
Safe? What is... saddle?
I say, we'll get you somewhere where you can just fly around and eat what you want. How's that sound?
and it looks at Devereaux and goes back to eating the sausage and says,
I leave now?
Yeah, you go back to the city? Are you happy there?
I don't go. I go wherever I want.
See you later.
It kind of licks its lips. You see the greasy bits of sausage that fall out, and it kind of looks one more time longingly at Devereaux, but nods to you, and then it just kind of leaps up into the air. You hear the wind catch under its leathery wings as it begins to fly away. And I think around then, Avo, you were climbing down out of the rigging. You see this bat just fly away. You see Devereaux standing up, blood just pouring out of his shoulder. Cilantro looks like she's moved over and is trying to push on the wound, and it's not a gentle ministration. He's like,
Don't let her give you that super top.
She waggles a finger and she says, "It worked for you."
Still hot.
At which point, the wind still whistling by, you all hear Fairfax. He says, "Well, good job, friends. Looks like we've made it another day. We'll live to see tomorrow. But the ship itself, gonna need some repairs. Keep an eye out for an island someplace we can land and make some repairs. We're gonna sail through the night, and hopefully by tomorrow we can find some place to make dock." the ship sails into the night as the sky darkens. The belt of El become more and more visible, and you are sailing through darkness with the stars and the moons above you. Anything that you're going to be doing that night?
Theric's excited. He's got all the materials he needs to cast Find Familiar.
Okay.
And summon himself familiar.
Yeah, and I will say that Quartermaster Hillman does climb down out of the rigging. She takes control as the second in command right now. The captain is still at the helm, but Quartermaster Hillman kind of like, you can see her talking in low tones. You know she's only ever said a few words out loud to anybody, including you guys. But right now, with Devereaux hurt, you can see that she kind of sends Devereaux and Cilantro down into the lower parts of the ship to tend to the first mate. She says, "Good work today. We'll handle. I'll have Ranford and Webb handle the ship. You take the night. Rest up."
And then she says that to my partner and says, "You shot me."
She kind of sheepishly grins and she says, "I did. That's true. Next time, if you look like that, I'll try not to. But if you look like you do now, I probably won't shoot you again." And she gives you a little bit of a, almost call it flirtatious if she wasn't 3 times as big as you, as far as height goes. But she gives you a little bit of a smile and then smacks you on the shoulder good-naturedly, the one that she shot you on. She says, "Yeah, you'll be all right." At which point she goes over and starts encouraging Ranford, Webb, Lonnie, and Nani to make sure that the ship is right to go. The 2 of you have the evening off, as you were saying, Theric, about the familiar.
So yeah, that's the only plans. I mean, if anybody has any questions about my wings, I'm apprehensive, but...
And they might, but right now there's not going to be like the normal sit-down dinner like the crew has had in the past. It looks like tonight's going to be a mostly hands-on deck, other than the Song of Iron with the officers.
So, and I'm just going to take time. I'm going to summon a familiar. I want to summon an owl.
Okay, so you're going to head down into your cabin, I imagine, someplace quiet and secluded.
Yeah, the cabin, as long as I can stand and I'm not uncomfortable,
Yeah.
I'll go to the cabin and I'll get out the bowl and take the incense and start doing the chant I need to do to summon a fae owl.
Okay. Ava, what would you do as the excitement starts to die down, as the ship sails into the night, and you see Theric retiring down into the hold?
Might chill in the mess for a bit.
Okay, you head down to the mess.
I'm going to... If it's quiet, then I'll just carve wood
for
a bit.
First Mate Devereaux's room is just off the mess at the front of the ship. It's actually below the captain's room. When you look at if you were looking at the cross section of the ship, it's below the captain's quarters. But that means it's right off the mess as well. So he's in there, and Cilantro comes out a few moments after you've sat down. You're by yourself. There's only 3 or 4 tables in the mess, along with the cooking bench. But you're sitting there, maybe carving a little bit. There's a magical lantern that is lit and keeping the room in not what you'd call bright light, but bright enough for what you're doing. She comes out, Cilantro does, the goblin cook of the ship, where she sees you sitting at the table, and she kind of, like, you see her brows furrow a little bit, and then she kind of rushes really quickly behind the cooking bench where she's usually at. And then a few minutes later, she comes out and sets a little glass of milk and 3 or 4 little like sugar cookies on the table next to you. She says, "You did a good job," and she sets those down.
Thank you.
Says,
Care to join?
And she looks at your carving, and then she says, "Yes, but only if you don't mind my hobby." And she sits down and pulls out a very long pipe and begins packing it with tobacco. She sits there and lights her pipe up and watches you carve. She doesn't really make conversation. She just kind of watches you. Other than if you don't touch the milk and cookies, occasionally she will loudly like clear her throat and look at them, like
sip away and nibble.
Okay. In your quarters, Theric, you've taken the time to get your bowl out. You've got the incense going, sweet smelling smoke. Not in a dangerous way, just it does cloud the senses slightly. It allows you to meditate, to focus. And you sit and trace some runes on the floor in a little bit of powder. and begin to focus on calling what you'd like to be as a companion.
So I summon a Fey Owl.
I think that in that time, as you're sitting there, you are in the midst of casting the spell, of chanting the incantation, going through the motions. You're trying to center yourself, connect to that realm. You're trying to connect to your home realm. And at one point, your eyes drift close as you're focusing. With your eyes closed, you can start to see like this point of light that is somewhere in your inner mind that slowly starts to expand. And as your eyes open, as that light grows brighter and brighter, you see sitting in the room across from the circle on the other side of the bowl an owl. Would you like to describe the owl? What it looks like? What colors it is?
So he's a smaller owl, nothing big. He's small like me.
Okay.
Kind of a whitish with gray to black tint. He kind of starts at white on his head, and as his body goes down, it starts to look like somebody's been coloring him in with a dark pencil or whatever, and it gets darker and darker. And he's sitting there looking at me, and I just kind of timidly, hi.
So you say, let's start that again then. You see the owl. This is a small owl, white feathers at the top that fade to grays and then dark blacks at the bottom, almost like he's been dipped in coal or soot. Its claws kind of scrabble a little bit on the wooden floor as it kind of paces back and forth, as its large eyes kind of tilt back and forth as its whole head moves back and forth looking at you. Its full focus is on you.
Hi,
And
I'm Theric.
You hear in your head a light voice that says, "Hello. Who am I?"
You're Hoot.
I am Hoot. Hello.
Hi, Hoot. How was your trip?
It was light. There was no food there. But I am Hoot. I am here.
Good. And I hold my hand out.
Immediately flaps his wings and hops across the small distance, and you feel like his claws, in a gentle fashion, grip onto your arm, and his whole head kind of tips to one side and back, and then their eyes don't move, their head moves. So as he looks around the room, his entire head just swivels almost fully around as he explores the space that he's been summoned to. Friend, I am a Hoot. I call you friend.
And Theric shakes his head. Yes, I think we'll get along fine.
And then I think he walks up your arm a little bit and then gets onto your shoulder and then just finds a comfortable grip and just kind of sits there and nuzzles against the edge of your head. He's still about a foot tall owl, which is about half of your height. He's big to be sitting on you, but not uncomfortably so. And I think that because of his Fey heritage, up close you can see little bits of hints. You can see some of there's like gold flecks in the parts of his eye that should be just darkened in. You can see little traces of silver that line some of the black feathers, and on his feet there are not rings, those would be something native or foreign to him, but there are little bands of color that make it look like he's wearing rings on some of his toes. But that night passes uneventfully for each of you.
So after Hoot and I talk, though, I can dismiss him since he looks kind of funny and I like to surprise people. I just kind of I dismiss him to the pocket dimension for now.
Okay. So when how would you tell him that?
I say, Hoot, I'm gonna put you away for a little bit. You're just probably gonna sleep. I don't know what you're gonna do, but it shouldn't be too bad. If it's bad, tell me, and I won't ever put you back there again. But let's try this.
Hoot will go rest. And when you snap your fingers, I think there was a moment where you were expecting him, based on some of the reading, to vanish, or like a puff of smoke, or I think you've read before where like they would just fade away. You snap your fingers, and he climbs down the front of you, shoves his head into your jacket, and in a moment is just gone. It looks like he fully climbed into your jacket, but he's not inside of it. He's just climbed into what he considers a pocket dimension. He was just looking for a pocket. And away he goes.
And then I'll go to sleep.
As you're getting ready to go to sleep, and before Abo has rejoined you, but this is after you've dismissed Hoot, you hear a small knock at your door, Theric.
Hello?
You hear Lonnie and Nani. You hear one of them kind of clear her throat, and the other one says, "Do you have any more of that you're smoking in there?"
They say, no, I'm out, unfortunately.
And you hear a little bit of a other language that you don't quite speak yet argument outside, and then they drift away. Abo, how did you do on carving? Do you want to roll and see how well you did?
I think it's more like a undescribable lump. I think I was trying to make one of the bats, and I think its wing broke off, and the rest is just kind of undescribable.
Cilantro sits and watches your progress. You get to a point where you decide you're going to call it a night, and she nods. Hasn't really said much the entire time, but as you finish up, she's like, "The effort is what counts."
It passes the time.
Keep at it, though. Keep at it. And then as you retire, she retires to her place. Abba, when you return to your room, it smells faintly of incense, and you see Theric already in his hammock. You bed down for the night, and you guys get a full rest and recover for the next morning.
This has been Gen XP. Thanks for listening. Catch you next week.